Was incredible, and I can't even say thank you enough to the Cincinnati Bengals, Mike Brown, the ownership there, Katie Blackburn, his daughter, Troy Blackburn, everybody else that made yesterday's trip just so seamless and so unforgettable. And what was most amazing was having my grandkids there to see that, and it's like it put everything to bed. You know what I'm saying? And she is just unbelievable. Oh, my God. And little Casper's running around all over the field.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments that I'll cherish forever. And to be able to do it with Chad Ochocinco or Chad Johnson was pretty cool, too, because I got to see him a lot behind the scenes. And, Terrell Owens showed up with him. And Terrell Owens went to shake my hand, and his hand went all the way up my forearm. And it was just fun to be around with those two guys and to see it. My man, Willie Anderson right there next to Chad Johnson. They're showing it on TV. And then Anthony Munoz with the hat on. Those were two of my left tackles when I played in Cincinnati. And both were all pros and made my job a lot easier. But to be able to share that moment with my grandkids, I'll never, ever forget it. And it kind of puts to bed, the whole Bengal football thing and just the whole thing. You know what I mean? And I have to say, I hadn't been back to Cincinnati since December of 2017. I did a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game which Ryan Shazier got hurt.
Yeah.
You remember that was a Thursday night game. So that was the last time I was there. So Joe Burrow was not there yet. It was Andy Dalton's team. And the Bengals lost that night. But watching what that team has turned into since Joe Burrow got there is nothing short of miraculous. I mean, it was crazy last night. It was a whiteout. Everybody had those great uniforms on. And I said to Chad, could you imagine if we had these uniforms, man? Because I always thought his team had the ugly Bengal uniforms.
Yeah, they did, for sure.
We had the simple Bengal uniforms. And but it was just it was a memorable night. And a lot of my teammates from both the 1997 team and then the 88 team and before were there last night. I didn't realize they were all going to show up. And they had a nice dinner and party the night before that I was unable to make on Sunday night. But I have to say, it was just great to go back down memory lane and see everybody. And the Bengals were unbelievable. And I mean, the franchise is now fully into the 21st century. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, of course, yes. And they've got a quarterback now that is paid more handsomely than just about everybody in the league. They've got Super Bowl expectations every single year. They have been to a Super Bowl in recent memory, and you could see that all on display with a rich history last night and the present and the future of the team. And it's got to just be, I can't even imagine being in your shoes last night. I was thinking watching this, too, like how many people make it to the NFL, and then really nothing happens. Then you get guys who make it to the NFL and play a couple years. Then there's guys who make it to the NFL, and they start for a few years and have a nice career. And then there's the guys that they get their name on the stadium for the rest of time. And it's such a small percentage of players that have put a uniform on that could say that they were able to do that. So that has to be as cool as it gets for you.
And then it's the next level is the Hall of Fame. So,
sure,
that's why watching Anthony Munoz and Bill Cowher go into that's a whole nother level of just adulation and respect. And I think it also certifies their career as one of the greatest careers of all time. So I don't know. Last night for me, it was just a very, very, moving and special night. And just to see everybody there was just, and to see your teammates just bowled over by a lot of these guys I haven't seen in a long time. And just the memories that you have with those guys. And then you go through it, and then the next guy comes, and then the next guy comes. And there were a couple guys there that I played with that played at BYU. My first question goes, what the hell's going on with Zach Wilson? You know what I'm saying? Like everybody has an opinion. I don't know whether or not the opinions are correct or whatever. But it's a memorable night for so many reasons. So I'm glad, and I'm very thankful, and I appreciate the warm welcome from the Cincinnati fans last night.
Now, speaking of everybody having an opinion on Zach Wilson, you were so busy yesterday. Did you happen to catch, and I don't blame you if you didn't, but did you happen to catch the Tiki Barber Joe Beningo fight?
So I was reading about it coming back last night.
Okay.
And I was laughing. And then, of course, I started to think that, you have, an obviously passionate fan in Joe who is just going to be screaming and yelling. And you have Tiki, who's a very reserved, smart, bright, that is not going to want to put up with the freaking nonsense. And I guess that's what happened after reading the article and everything about the blow up between them. But Tiki's too nice of a guy for something like that to hang over. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what he said, basically. He's not going to hold a grudge, but he was definitely pissed off in the moment. And Jerry will have the audio for you at some point. But the visual of this is great, too. And it was tweeted out on our Twitter account and Joe and Evan's, well, not Joe and Evan's, and Evan and Tiki's Twitter account. It's all over the place.
Now, was it as bad as when I got up in our studio when you were screaming at somebody?
I think they're different, but the thing is, Tiki mouthed that's bull crap, but bull S, and pointed like straight forward to what I'm assuming was a monitor that had Joe on it somewhere. So, like, you didn't mouth any curses, but it's sort of a similar type situation. But, like, this was over sports, which made it funnier, and also the visual, too. Like, Joe, who I believe just turned 70, is wearing a Jets sweatshirt, a Jets hat. He's got a Joe Namath jersey thumbtacked to the wall behind him. And he is screaming at Tiki Barber's credibility in breaking down Zach Wilson. Here's Tiki, 0% body fat, all-time leading rusher for one of the great franchises in history, has run marathons in like 7 different countries, and he's got a deal with this wacko.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Zoom.
Well, welcome to talk radio.
It could only happen in sports talk radio.
Right.
That moment could only happen. I could not get enough of it. Those guys will be fine. They'll work through it. They've known each other and been friendly for a very long time. From my perspective, that could not have been a funnier situation. Watching... he was 70 years old, dressed like he's 13, screaming at Tiki Barber, who could not be in better shape, nicer, smarter. It was just amazing.
I was thinking that Tiki so reserved. I was like, I wanted to send him a text this morning, like, welcome to afternoon drive,
right?
And just the complete idiocy of the fan. Like, I'm an idiot when it comes to the Rangers.
Of course.
Like, sometimes you don't see things that you should be seeing, or you only see what you want to see. And then if you're not really attached, like, I can understand Joe going after Tiki saying, you're not attached to the Jets like I am because you're a former Giant.
Right.
And why would you be attached to the Jets? You didn't really have anything to do with the Jets. Not that Tiki hates the Jets. Of course he doesn't. He knows those coaches over there. He talks to those coaches.
Yeah.
And I think, didn't he have to give like an apology to Rob Saleh or something, like a couple
yes, he did.
Or something like that?
Yeah, because he reported he wasn't going to be at practice. He didn't want Hard Knocks to be there. They were canceling the joint practice with Todd Bowles, whatever, the whole thing.
That was like the party that Brian Daboll suppostly had when Michael Kay was talking about the party.
That's right. Yes, the big party before week 1. It turned out to be a 5-year-old birthday party.
Right.
Oh my God, everybody's a
sports
mess.
Talk is on fire in this city right now.
Yeah, but you know what it is? I mean, this Zach Wilson thing has got everybody nuts. I mean, that's really what it is, and it went to even a higher fever pitch yesterday when Rob Saleh stood up there and once again had Zach Wilson's back and basically didn't say a negative thing about him. And I just remembered when you said after the injury and after they beat the Buffalo Bills, it's enough with babying him. You call him in and say enough is enough. It's on you. We have coddled you since the second that you've gotten here. Now it's a different story, but they're still using the same tact. They're still using the same tact.
At least publicly they are. I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. And again, I think, like I was telling you yesterday, I think Zach is a kid that probably can go through the game plan on a whiteboard and sit there with his offensive coordinator, recite all the plays, all the formations, all the different variables that go into all of that. But then when he gets on the field, that's when the lack of awareness has shown up. Now, I will say, and Rob Saleh has said in the last couple of days, hey, look, man, he didn't turn the ball over. We were close. We were there at the end. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but in their eyes, I'm assuming in their eyes, that is significant improvement. Because the week before in the fourth quarter, he turned the ball over 3 times. And they got blown out. That's what happens in the NFL. You do that late in games, and you're not careful with the football. You end up blowing it out. Having your team blown out, and you don't give your team a chance to win. And I think they're trying to break him of those mistakes. And then when you do that, now all of a sudden he's playing tight. He's playing not to make a mistake, as opposed to just freely going out in there and playing. Because I would always say to a young quarterback, don't be afraid to make a mistake. It's okay. And Phil Simms has often told me that Bill Parcells used to say, if you don't throw 2 interceptions today, Phil, you're not trying. Like just to try to loosen him up and to get him out there and get him in rhythm, And I don't know if no huddle or in and out of the huddle quicker would be beneficial for Zach, and maybe less thinking and more reacting, but also remembering not to turn the football over, maybe the answer for him. But, look, they have a brutal schedule. We knew that. We said, hey, 2-2 after 4 would be unbelievable. And then maybe Aaron Rodgers would be able to take off after that. But, I would just say that we're all stuck. We're all stuck in this moment. And the question is Taylor Swift going to the game Sunday night? Because there's really no other reason to watch it other than that.
I'm going to say, well, the reason to watch is you can watch the Kansas City Chiefs do their thing. And the Zach Wilson thing has gotten so bad that it's fascinating to watch. It's one of those things where it's just gotten so bad watching him be pathetic and then trotting back out on the field drive after drive after drive. Has become fascinating because the Jets are the only ones in the world that think he can play.
So as a non-Jet fan, you are rubbernecking.
Oh, yeah. No,
that's
at this
basically
point,
what you're doing.
Well, I mean, because there's still a chance that they could be relevant because it's this early in the season. They won't with Zach as the quarterback. But, yeah, I absolutely am rubbernecking. And it's just yesterday was it for me, though, when Rob Saleh doubled and tripled down on Zach being the unquestioned quarterback. And I know we've said it a million different times. I'm not saying there's great options out there. It's just if you're not trying anybody and, you get Chad Henne to say no to you, okay, well, then what's the next guy? What's the next guy? Tell me that you're doing something. Then you're not taking the season seriously. He's that bad. So if you're not going to take your season seriously and he's going to still be the quarterback, then I can't take them seriously.
The other thing, too, is I know they have asked Rob about looking at another quarterback, and what did he say? That's a Joe answer.
Yeah, because that's an easy thing to pass the buck.
Well, the GM is the one who controls the roster.
Yeah, but he also doesn't have... All right, so Joe Douglas is only obligated to speak during the bye week.
Yeah.
So he could very easily say that's a Joe question, deflect for a number of weeks.
But by the way, it is a Joe question.
Okay, you tell me those guys don't have I spoke to Joe and what we're going to do is this and do that.
Like Shane and Dable.
Yeah,
I'm sure that Douglas and Saleh are talking constantly, but while Rob Saleh may go in there and say, "Hey, Joe, we got to get another guy in here," he's never going to say that publicly. And Joe Douglas said, "Look, I'm scouring, I'm looking, I'm just trying to see what's going on here. Let's give this kid another couple games, and we'll see what happens. And then after that, we'll let the chips fall where they may if we find somebody." But again, I go back to our discussion yesterday morning, saying that if he gets hurt, if Zach Wilson gets hurt, they're going to have to sign somebody. They're going to have to bring somebody in. So the thought process of, others out there, like Pro Football Talk, I'm going to want to hear this. There's really not that many guys out there. Well, there are. And if an emergency happened where you lost your starting quarterback for the second time in the season, you have to go get somebody. And that's like a kind of thing like Zach is there now. He's got like a pulled brain muscle. And nobody could truly appreciate the stress and pressure that he is under. I mean, the entire fan base, the media, Joe Namath, Joe Beningo, everybody on this radio station is killing this kid. And he, we all might want to think that he's a man, but he's still a kid, and he's still trying to figure it out. And he's figuring it out a little bit at a time, and I think that's what they're seeing. But it just is not good enough for the fan base where the whole I feel like 95% of this fan base wants him to fail. And just like you said,
well, hold on
the reason
second.
to watch it, look,
they don't want him to fail. They just think he can't play.
Yeah, but they don't want him to play.
Because they know that he can't win games. It's not that they don't. They would love it. The fan base would love it if he came out and looked great. But the problem is they know he can't play. They've seen enough, and they don't want this season to just disappear, which it will.
The only guy that, since I've been on this radio station, that has come through it at this position, because this position obviously is the number one position in sport that everybody wants to talk about. Sanchez didn't. Darnold didn't. The only guy that actually came through it was Eli Manning. He's the only guy that I saw.
What about Daniel Jones?
Daniel, he's still not through it yet.
He got a major contract.
He's got a major contract. Doesn't mean he's through it. I mean, they're still writing articles. Show us why you're made what you're getting paid. What you're getting paid. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
And this kid is not being paid what Daniel Jones is getting. at all. I mean, he's got first round money, which is good money right now, but, he's still playing for his second contract if he can ever get one.
Yeah, well, no way, no
He
how.
may get one like Sam Darnold got one. They may trade him, next year in the offseason. Probably would do them. That would probably be the smartest thing for them to do.
They should have done this previous season, which is what I was screaming about for months and months. You can't have him be the backup, and here's the situation that they're in. I mean, and it sucks because I do think that they were ready to win. They were ready to take the next step, but there was one critical error that they had, and it was not to have a competent quarterback backing up Aaron Rodgers. And I never thought he was going to be out for the entire year with the Achilles, but I figured, maybe he's older quarterback. I've seen him miss some time. He had the thumb injury last year. Maybe he's out 3 to 4 games in a very stacked AFC. You need someone who's able to play.
And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, you know who I ran into last night? And had a nice conversation with him.
I don't know.
Dr. Neil.
Oh, Elatrosh.
Yeah, well, he is the Rams sideline doctor, orthopedic surgeon.
Okay.
And had a nice conversation with him. He obviously didn't give me any update on Aaron's injury or any of that stuff. But we were talking about, the disappointment surrounding the whole thing. And he was like, Aaron's concerned. He wants to be back with his teammates. We got to kind of calm him down a little bit. And he just said, it's just so sad what happened to the Jets. I said, believe me, I live it every day, Neil. Every single day I live it. And I'm a part of the conversation in New York about all of it, and most of it was surrounding Aaron Rodgers for 6 months. And now here we are. It's surrounding, Aaron's not even in the thought process of anybody at the moment because they're watching their team implode because the young quarterback that he was having an impact on is just not being able to process and go through it quickly enough.
Sucks.
Yeah, okay, thanks. I appreciate that, Eddie.
Thanks so much for watching the video.
Please like and subscribe.
And don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified when we're dropping new content.